Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of weddings and events. I'm your host, Keith Willard. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking to Randi Bushell, who is the founder and CEO of Merri. It is a 3D visualization platform that is next level. If you're a wedding planner or even a bride and groom that are, or a groom and groom or a bride and bride that are about to get married, this is a great way for you to be able to actually visualize it from a 3D perspective without trying to kill yourself with trying to learn new tech. But before we bring on Randi, let me bring on Marcy Gutenberg with an affair to remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So I'm excited about this because
I know.
it's new. I mean, this is something that it's a new tool that we have not had in our toolbox, so to speak, ever before.
And I love the story that she's going to talk about how this all came about. It's such a great idea. I mean,
it really is.
Talk about the the elephant in the room. So, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. But this was born out of a necessity and need out of her own life. And again, we'll let her talk about that. But what I love about this is if you and by the way, if you're listening to this, you can go to www.bemerri.com to check it out. It's and play with it a little bit. You're going to find it fascinating. It's easy to use. It really is incredible. But let's bring on the CEO and founder. Randi, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hey, Marcy. Hey, Keith.
Yay, I'm so excited to hear about it. So tell us about Merri. First of all, I love the name. I mean, it just says happy.
That's exactly right.
be merry. And typically when you're trying to design a floor plan or design a space, believe me, merry is not the first thing that ever comes to my mind. Because sometimes it's like, what am I doing? Oh my God. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, it's a 3D event design platform. I started it actually after my own wedding planning experience. I got married in February 2019. And I found myself creating a rendering. It was a collage, right? In a PowerPoint slide of what I thought my event was going to look like. And I was just struggling, like, how do I know which menus are going to look good with my linens? And, how do I explain to my florist exactly what I want, and et cetera. So
right.
Kind of cropping and arranging images in PowerPoint, I had this like light bulb moment of, there's all these 3D visualization platforms that exist for interior design. Why doesn't that exist for event design?
Right.
So that's the broad concept. Feedback we get a lot is, it feels like I'm playing The Sims. It's intentional.
I love that. Oh my God.
Yeah. We get that feedback at least like twice a week. So that can hopefully help people understand what it looks like and feels like.
Well, but I mean and how smart too, because it does actually say a lot about how easy it is to use the program. Because and in the past, when you really wanted to draw a 3D diagram of a space, I mean, it took a lot. I mean, you had to go to a specialist. I mean, and I forget the program that oh my God, that you used to have to go to AutoCAD. Oh my God, you used to have to find somebody that could do AutoCAD, and it was almost a nightmare to get it done. Because you just have. I mean, I know my clients aren't always that visual. They're, it's difficult to see a room and not, first of all, get past the ugly carpet, which seems to happen in every hotel across the world. But, but also to really see what it's going to look like. What's the spacing going to look like? What are the chairs and tables? And, it helps when a client can really see it for themselves.
And understanding what your options are and all of the decisions that you have to make. Our approach has been, think about all of the kind of like categories of products that you bring into an event. So,
which is a lot.
It's a lot, right? And so we've built tooling specific to those categories. So we have this like really robust tablescape tool where you can layer, chargers and china and fold the napkin in different ways and see what different centerpiece options look like with candles.
What?
And so, I like to get in the mindset of like, how does somebody think about everything they need to rent or buy for their tablescape? And then we built something similar for like tenting. Are you going to have or liners, walls, doors? And so there's all these things that you can kind of like drag and drop or toggle on and off, depending on the type of item you are booking, buying, or renting.
Right.
Why rental companies love our product, because we effectively like showcase their inventory in this like virtual showroom, for lack of a better term.
Well, but the tinting is a game changer. I mean, it is a game changer because another program, which we'll talk about, you go in and you say, oh, I want a 50 by 80 square, right? So you think, okay, 50 by 80 tint, but there's no way to really showcase what the tint is going to look like when you're walking towards it, or what the different types of drapery, or even if you drop the curtains, what does that look like? And so far, that's been really, really hard to find, process, and get across. And I do love the fact that you said, I love the because everybody goes to Pinterest now. I mean, I remember the days when you used to have the big piece of white cardboard, and you would clip out magazines and stick it to the piece of cardboard in your house. I mean, that's what we used to do. I mean, this is like whole other level.
Well, even before CAD, I mean, I just came across this past weekend because I was going through an old box to get rid of some things. And I came across my old templates from way back that were, the plastic templates to do your markings for your tables and such.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just crazy how far we have come, along with technology.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes equate it to, imagine building a house without an architectural diagram, right? Or like designing a house without the diagram to work off of, but then the diagram itself is not what the house is going to look like. So you have to pair the functional aspects of the space with the more inspirational, aspirational elements of well, what do I want this to look like for my event, for this style, this size, etc.
Right. Well, I'm gonna bring up the elephant in the room. Obviously, you're in the wedding and event industry. All seated is king at the moment, as far as diagrams. I mean, they cornered their market. What's the difference between Merri and All Seated?
Yeah, really good question. So what I say is Merri is a design first or design forward platform.
Nice.
So of course, as you are designing your event, we have to let you make a floor plan too, because what good is the design if it doesn't fit in the space? But we really lean into, just beyond what are the tables and chairs going to look like kind of as, placements in the space. Like I mentioned before, what is the table seat going to look like? What flowers am I going to have? Am I going to have a tent? Is there going to be draping? There's a ton of detail on top of just a diagram that Merri really leans into. And I think that that's where we stand out.
I love that. I mean, I love that. I mean, I love the fact that you have a difference between a pocket fold and I mean, that's it. I love that, because so far the diagrams that I've used for tablescapes, I basically have to draw it in, and I'm a horrible artist. So, people are like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be a napkin. Thank you very much. But you said you started this because you were getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I need something because there's something not really fitting. I'm fascinated by the fact that you were like, oh, let's build a program, because I first of all, I wouldn't even know. I'd be like, I'm lucky I turned on the computer and I know how to get into this program that's allowing us to do this. I mean, I can't even imagine thinking, oh, you know what? Let's draw a whole brand new program that helps people visualize their tablescapes, and let's make it easy enough that anybody can use it. How did that all start?
Yeah. So I think there was some naivety involved in hindsight.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some naivety involved. But, if I take a step back as to what was I doing before I started Merri, I spent about 10 years in e-commerce. And so when you think about what we built on Merri, a very basic way that I describe it is it's almost an e-commerce catalog for rentals and decor wrapped up in a 3D visualization platform for venues.
Nice.
And so I really leaned into my e-commerce kind of knowledge to make us different than just other platforms that already existed. And that was kind of the starting point. So I've always been in e-commerce in and around technology. Am I an engineer? Absolutely not. So the first thing that I did when I thought of the idea was I thought, who was my favorite engineer that I ever worked with? And I reached out to him. And he and I had that very quintessential, like, meet at a coffee shop, draw it on a napkin. And I had that napkin up until like a year ago. I'm so sad that I somehow misplaced it, but we like
What? You
sketched
should
it
have
out.
it. Oh
I
my
know, I should have
God.
framed it. It's
You
gotta be here
know,
somewhere.
Southwest Airlines started the same way.
I
By
didn't
the
know
way,
that.
with a napkin, and they started Austin, Dallas, Houston was there, and they still have that napkin. I mean, it's iconic actually.
That
Yeah.
was
when you,
my father's way of. My father was an engineer, and every time we would go anywhere, he would grab a napkin and like immediately start writing and drawing out what he was thinking. I mean, like, and I'm like, you got to keep those things.
I know.
Yeah, so
It's
you
gotta be-
drew it on a napkin,
So
and
you drew it on a napkin.
and the engineer
And he
understood.
pretty much looked at me and he was like, you know, I'm the perfect person to work on this, right? And I was like, why? Like I liked working with you, but what do you mean?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just knew him as the engineer who worked on like our warehouse management system at the e-commerce company we were at. He was
Right.
like, I am a video game developer. Like that's my hobby.
no.
Oh my gosh!
I had no
That's
idea.
like a dream.
So this was just like, they call it founder's lock, right? There's
I
founders
was
and
about to
founders lock.
say.
Yeah,
I was about
so-
to say.
He immediately was like, I love this idea. I'm the right fit. Like, you seem prepared and I trust you. Like, let's do this.
Right.
And so that was December 2018. For anybody who knows me, I am not a risk taker at all. Like,
Really?
I like comfort and stability and being, you know, in a routine. And so for me to start my own business was, I'm not one of those people who was like, I'm entrepreneurial in spirit and I'm going to start my own business. Like, that's not who I was. I never saw myself doing this, but I just couldn't stop thinking about this idea. I just felt like there was really something here.
Right.
We kind of went like brick by brick and just started, we went from a napkin to like a more robust drawing, and we kind of just started going step by step.
But 2018 was not that
That's not
long
far,
ago. I mean, we're not talking like a decade or even 6 years. I mean, that you went from a napkin to a full-on product that is available for people to sign up today and use in a robust way in that short amount of time.
In
That's
4 years? Wow.
that's
It was
incredible.
6 months actually from when we drew on the napkin to when we launched our beta. Yeah.
6 months.
It was 6 months. We launched a beta in New York City with 10 venues. It was a terrible product at that point, but there's this concept in software of you just got to launch and learn, and then you iterate, right? If you wait until it's perfect, you're never going to launch. So we launched in August 2019 in a very small way. Like, it wasn't a public launch or anything. We just learning. And then actually the pandemic hit 6 months later. So it's been an interesting journey.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling for decades now, there are going to be companies and situations that people refer back to. This would have never happened if it hadn't been for COVID, or this would have been bigger if it hadn't been for COVID. I mean, it's amazing how many different ways COVID has affected business and long term. Did COVID give you a chance to sit and actually work through the issues?
Yes. 100%.
Because there was nothing else to do. So, you know, you got to really focus on this particular project.
It was both the best thing and the worst thing that has ever happened to me.
I was about to say, it had to be both. It had to be both.
It was both. Yeah. I wouldn't want to relive it if given the choice. But there were definitely some silver linings to your point, Keith.
Yeah.
We got more time to build without having to worry about scaling and monetizing and, you know, dealing with some like customer issues. So we were able to kind of just go back to a really small team, myself, 2 engineers, a product manager, and build what is now the product that has allowed us to scale to where we are today.
It's incredible.
So now that we're in like a post-pandemic time, do you feel that there is a lack of empathy with regards to, like, you know, because everybody's like really fast, you know, at a very fast pace, and they're working diligently to get projects done and so forth. Do you feel that maybe they are just so fast about things that they're forgetting that there is a build-up period, and, you know, something that they come across might not be available right now, but it could be at some point?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good
So
question.
I think there's 2 really good points to touch on here. The first is on the technology side, which is what you most directly asked about. I think that sometimes there is a lack of empathy or understanding around what we're doing is hard. If it was easy, somebody would have done it.
Already done it. Yeah.
And so these things just take time to do the right way. Now, listen, if I had unlimited resources and 500 engineers, we could move a lot faster. But we've also made the decision to keep our price point really accessible. And
Right.
so with that comes some decisions around like the resources that we have. And so every single day, like my job is looking at what is the feedback we're getting, what are our business goals, and what is the most important thing that my engineers need to be working on
Right.
for both of those things. That doesn't mean that there's not a list of 200 other things that we would love to be doing. We just need time to get to those other 200 things.
Well, and the
then
fact that it's less than $20 a month is crazy, by the way. And we haven't even brought that up as a price point. It's less than $20 a month.
Yeah, it's $19 a month for unlimited events for planners.
That's mind blowing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. I mean, I'm gonna be signing up today. Just FYI, I'm gonna be signing up today.
And quite frankly, like some of that was a side effect of launching during the pandemic because we was spending money on software, and so we wanted to make it so that that wasn't a hurdle. And I haven't wanted to increase our pricing on everyone who's kind of like been with us from the beginning. So we've made the decision to stay with that. Now, as we grow, and we've already started doing this, we'll add higher tiers.
Right.
But we're keeping this like kind of entry price point open.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm so in awe of your gumption and your ability to really go after it and to create something that's unique and never been done before. I mean, it's incredible. So let me ask you, with the $19 a month, that means if a couple wanted to sign up and design their event using your software system, could they sign up for a month and then or 2 months and then like, okay, done? Or is there a year contract?
So you can actually sign up as an event host. We call it an event host or an event planner.
Okay.
Or a venue. An event host gets one event for free. You don't have to pay anything.
Nice.
Event planners get a free 30-day trial. And then after 30 days, if you like what you see, is when you pay the $19 a month. Now, as a planner, you can either invite your clients to like collaborate with you, or you can work on it by yourself and send them a PDF export or a video. Like there's different ways that you can collaborate on the platform. But if you are a couple not using a planner, you can sign up as an event host and it's totally free for your one event.
That's incredible.
That's
I mean, that's incredible, especially with so many do-it-yourself, selfers out there. I mean, it's just a different field out there. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my clients are partial planning, not full planning, because they went and found their own venue or they've went and found their own caterer, but they need help with everything else. I mean, this is very much along that same lines. I mean, how amazing would it be to be able to get something like this from a couple and said, this is my vision, and you get a 3D rendering of everything. It's like, okay, well, we'll just copy and paste this. We got you.
That's happened to us actually. We've like gained business on the planner side because some clients have like sent them an expert from Merri and they're like, this is cool. What is this? And like the clients just like somehow found us on Instagram or something. So it's funny how it works in all of the directions.
That's so cool.
That's very cool. Can you, if you're working, like let's say you're a planner and you are working with the designer or a florist and they have certain design elements that you want to include into the diagram, are you able to then upload those items?
Love this question, Marcy.
Yeah.
So for our $19 a month package, you get access to our catalog of like 65,000 rental and decor items. We have, to your point, if you're, a florist or whatever, like there's unlimited options. So what do we do? So, in our catalog is a lot of preset options, but we do have a $34 a month option called All Access that allows you to upload your own images that you can then kind of translate into your 3D design. So that's one kind of step up that we've added to my earlier point of like, as we evolve, additional functionality. That's kind of the biggest one we've added.
That's amazing though, because if you have a particular like centerpiece that you really want to do for this particular client so they can see it, that's wow. I mean, I'm kind of blown away. So what if you're a venue though? So if you're a venue and you upload the diagram, because again, I'm going to go back to All Seated, because All Seated did their beta version like 2012, I want to say. Like it's been a bit, because I was actually one of their beta people.
I was too.
way back then. And so I was working for a hotel at the time. I was a director actually I was catering manager for Pier 66 because it just entered anyway. Sidestep. But I uploaded the PDF, and then they were able to create scale diagrams that then I could then use that were so much better than Delphi, if you know that system, which is horrible. How does that work? Yeah, sorry, Delphi, you suck. So how does this work with a venue that wants to send you their information? How does that, I mean, because do you put in walls? Do you put in windows? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So there's two ways in which we work with venues. The first is a venue who predominantly wants like the 2D floor planning view, and the 3D is kind of like an added bonus.
Right.
And so we call that an express 3D model. And it's free for the venue from an onboarding perspective, and then they just pay their subscription fee. And what that looks like is they send us a floor plan and some reference photos, and we can add in kind of like your standard architectural elements, your windows, your doors, your columns, your stairs, etc. But we're not going to create a fully custom 3D model.
Right.
Second way in which we work with a venue is called premium. And that is when we have a human being create, it's art, right? They are taking your reference photos and custom creating every single element of that space.
Nice.
And that's for venues who really want to use this as maybe like a sales tool, right? Like it's hard for somebody to visualize what the space is going to look like when it's empty or set up for another event. So like, I want to use this as almost like a virtual walkthrough option, or like, more of a luxury venue that's like, yeah, this is worth it for me. My clients expect this and I want the full 3D. So in either case, you have an account manager on Merri. You send us your floor plan and reference photos, and then if you're express, we get you up and running within 10 business days.
Nice.
If you're premium, it takes a few weeks. It really depends on when you get us the information we need.
So Ritz-Carlton Bell Harbor out there, I'm pointing them out. You have a really difficult ballroom to help people see their space. I'm just telling you, this is the sales technique. I'm sending this to them, by the way.
Some people are just very visual. I mean, I remember when we went looking for our first house, and my husband, he was like, he has to see it. Like, he can't just visualize it in his head.
I'm the same way.
He had to see it. So this, I mean, something like this is a perfect item for somebody who's not very, can't create in their head what the outcome is going to look like.
Yeah. And there are, virtual tour solutions like Matterport and things like that exist, which are great. It's effectively 360 photography, but we like layer on the interactive component. So not only can you see and walk through the space, but you can actually add things to it because it's an actual 3D model and not just photography.
So is it a drag and drop kind of vibe? So because you talked earlier about Sims, about, so if anybody is played with Sims, they would automatically understand how this is put together.
It's all drag and drop. Exactly.
It's all drag and drop. And did you say 65,000 different decor pieces?
Last night when I checked, it was like up to 67,000, but something along the lines. Yeah.
I'm assuming there's a search feature.
There is a search feature. Honestly, like all the tablecloth sizes. Oh my God, I had no idea how many sizes.
Wow. Oh yeah.
We even have logic based on like the shape and size table you have, where we recommend the right linen size, and we'll tell you if like that linen pattern you chose like doesn't come in a good size for the table you chose. So we
really
like that, yeah.
Very
and then
cool.
what about like linen companies and other companies that provide decor options? I mean, are you partnering, like here in South Florida? Over the Top is kind of a big player when it comes to linen, and so having their inventory in your inventory, is that a possibility? Is that a business association that could be worked out?
Exactly. So of the 65,000 items, 90% of those come from real rental companies. That's how we get our catalog.
Right.
And the reason why rental companies want to join is one, we have effectively made their inventory available to planners and designers in their market 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to design, in their 3D designs, show to their clients, sell the inventory, et cetera.
Right.
The second thing is we've built a website integration for them, where they can now have these like tablescape tools and things directly on their website through the technology that we've built. So we integrate their inventory into our master catalog. It's available in their market. They can make it available on their website. it's a pretty powerful tool for rental companies. And
Yeah, I was about to say.
the only reason why 100% of it isn't from real rental companies is because some of it is flowers.
Yeah.
Do you have some kind of a tool for, like, let's say wedding day papers or signage? Because like so often, you walk in a room and you're like, okay, where do I put the sign, or where is this going to go on the table, or a place card table or something of that nature?
Great question.
So we do have categories for welcome signs, table numbers, signature drink signs. I think it's those three. We also have a partnership with Minted. So all of Minted's inventory is available in our catalog. Or if you have that upload your own inventory, you can, right? Like a flat sign is like the perfect example of something where you could just upload an image and, see it in your 3D design, where it being a flat image doesn't really matter. Uploading a photo of like a sofa, you can tell it's not 3D, right? Uploading a photo of a menu, it doesn't really matter. So menus, I don't know if I said menus. So yeah, we have those all represented. You can either, use our existing catalog or upload your own image.
What about on like outside venues? So I have a wedding coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's been and we've done so many walkthroughs. I'm so tired of walkthroughs on this property, And I mean, I'm even resorted to the spray can and marking it on the grass so that way everybody understands the tent goes here, this goes here, the cook tent goes here. Do you have that option, or is this something that maybe in the future that could be developed where you could get like a Google Maps overview and upload it? Yeah, upload it, and so that way you can place things.
So so if we were to have that venue in our catalog, it would work the same way as if it was an indoor venue. It would just, instead of having walls, it has grass and trees and whatever.
Right.
We do also, which we haven't talked about this yet, have a tool that planners can use to create your own venue, right? Like maybe it's a backyard.
Yes.
Why would we create that for you or something like that? And so you can download an image from Google Earth and just upload that into our tool. It's not magic. It doesn't automatically happen, but you then like kind of trace it, right? And you say, okay, this line is 70 feet or whatever. And then you can even drag and drop like trees and bushes. And if there's a pool, you can draw a pool, whatever. I taught like a whole class. We did Merri University last week for the first time. It was actually great. And I did like a whole class on how you can use this tool. I can send it to you after.
Yes,
so
please.
You can draw it on your own, either just by free drawing or by uploading a Google Earth image.
Oh, I love that. I love that because I can't even tell you how many times that, I've been at a location and I try to explain, well, the pool's a kidney shape and the dimensions are this. And you're like, okay, but there's only brick that goes up to this point. And it's very difficult without doing multiple site visits. And then even when you get there on the day of, you're moving stuff around because it was off by a foot here or 3 feet there.
Totally.
I mean,
we've kind of drawn a hard line. So sometimes, a planner will request we add a venue for them. So if you come on and you put in, Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach or whatever, and the venue that you need is not listed, there's like a big banner on the top that says like, send us a floor plan and we can create like a really basic diagram for you for free. Okay?
Which is lovely. Yeah.
And sometimes we get floor plans that don't have a scale or a measurement on them. And we've really drawn a hard line at, we won't create it unless you're able to get us that dimension, because I don't want to be responsible for you showing up the day of the event and the tent doesn't fit. I don't know, is this area 30 feet, 80 feet? I have no idea if there's no scale. So unfortunately, sometimes it leads to some frustration, but I think it would be more frustration if we guessed and were.
I have an actual story about this. So I have a wedding at this outdoor venue called Sunset Cove. And I went online to another program to do the diagram because it was listed and the dimensions were off about 8 feet.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And so it created all sorts of issues where I thought we weren't going to be able to seat enough people. All of a sudden I was like, oh my God, we can seat double what we had planned. And yeah, it was interesting. So I totally get that. Because it could really screw people up.
Yeah.
If you try to guess,
Yeah.
Because what if it would have been the reverse? What if you thought you had more space and you turn out you have less?
Right, exactly. And Marcy, back to your point about like empathy, that's one of the things that like I can tell sometimes people get frustrated and I'm like, you don't want us to get this wrong.
No.
You know, like
Right.
I'm trying to look out for you.
Right.
Right.
Because I could guess and make it for you, but that's not going to be helpful for anyone.
So what's next? I mean, here you are 4 years later. What is it? 4 years later?
Like
Yes.
later.
Just
Yeah,
over
4
4.
years later, you went from a napkin to a full-on business that is thriving. And I think that you're like the fastest, one of the fastest growing companies in this market, correct?
Yeah.
You know, and of course your price point is ridiculous, by the way. It's so good. I can't even imagine nobody not wanting to sign up for it. So what's next? I mean, now that you've gotten the bug, so to speak, now that you're an entrepreneur
Yep.
and you're like, boom, I got this. Is there something in your brain that you're like, wait, I have one
And tell
more?
us about your partnerships. I mean,
Yeah.
you certainly have developed those in just a really short time.
Yeah.
Our partnerships in this industry are what have allowed us to get to where we are today. You guys know this, but this industry is so relationship driven. And
Oh, 100%.
and I'm an industry outsider. You know, I am not an event professional. I planned my wedding and decided to take the plunge into this. So
Right.
forming relationships with people like Lori from Certified Wedding Planner Society, and even the partnership we have with Minted has been like so instrumental in planners and designers trusting us and being willing to give us a shot, because there is sometimes some scar tissue when people are just like, I don't want to learn another platform, right? Like, I don't want to sign up for another thing. So getting someone over that hump is critical, and having a testimonial, you know, from someone or having a supporter really from like, partnerships and organizations has been paramount. So expanding partnerships, we're always open to it. We love, you know, working with partners, but you know, there's really two things when I think about like the future of Merri. The first is when I look at where our user base is.
Right.
I actually pulled these numbers for our like year-end update. We have planners in 64 countries using Merri. That was a complete accident. Like that was not intentional.
You're like, wait, we're international? What do you mean? 64?
Like, not intentional at all. And in some ways that's really cool to be able to say, but in other ways for me, I'm like, we didn't mean to do that. And that feels like there's not going to be as good of an experience in so many different regions, because, you know, how many venues can we possibly have in a country that we're not really focused on? So we are really trying to think about like a market by market growth strategy this year, and really partner with planners and designers and venues in markets and grow kind of like regionally, but like radiate out from there. Because the experience is just exponentially better for all of you, meaning your clients, you, venues, rental companies, the more of you in a highly like densely populated area are using it.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, you know, we are a design platform, but going back to my e-commerce roots, the way that I've always envisioned Merri playing out was not only can you design your event on Merri, but you can click to rent or click to buy. And we streamline the process of, okay, this is exactly what I want my event to look like. I want the 50 by 70 frame tent with this draping and the wishbone chairs and 20, 60-inch tables, whatever, right? And we aggregate.
Right click and rent. Love it.
Love it.
There's a lot of exciting things happening in that realm. It's a lot of, it's really exciting. It's really interesting. And just stay tuned for that.
Well, you know, and that's got to be difficult because pricing is all over the place when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, you could pay $6,000 for a tent and the same tent be $1,500, you know, just 30 miles away, you know, just with a different company. It's whoa. I mean, that's just crazy. And then I'm thinking about the languages. Just in 64 countries, that's a lot of different languages that have to then also be implemented into the programming.
Which again was why it wasn't intentional and is not our strategy. You know, for me, there's so much opportunity still in key markets, you know, in the US and really going narrow and deep there.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that Merri is unusable in other areas. Of course it is.
Yeah. It's drag and drop. It's
People using
Sims.
it.
Yeah.
But my point is that I think we have a lot of opportunity by thinking about what each market really needs to thrive and succeed on Merri, because it's so intertwined, as opposed to just kind of like a blanketed marketing strategy.
Well, you talked about Lori and your partnerships also. I mean, but like what about like Colin Cowhey, David Gutierrez, those kind of people, or even what about dresses and that kind of thing? Is that an expansion growth into like wedding dresses? What is your wedding dress going to look like if walking through the room? Is that, or is that, huh?
Maybe. So thank you for bringing up David. David's been such an amazing supporter of Merri. I forget how I was even introduced to David, but he's been, a huge supporter.
Yeah, we love David. He's been on the show a couple times. We love him.
He's great. And like one thing that I really admire about David is before he would ever kind of like agree to like bring me in front of his audience, he needed to understand exactly how Merri worked. And we did like several training sessions. And like, I just respect that so much, because he really wanted to make sure that it was something that he could stand behind. And so he really believes in what we're doing and sees what we're doing. And he's great. I think
that goes a long way too, by the way, having a planner like that, and especially somebody that's so well respected and so self-built like David, that's a big feather in your hat.
Yeah. And again, like that's been how we've grown to where we are. Like going back to, we grew up during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Nobody was buying software. Like we also weren't, spending a ton of money on marketing and getting our name out there. And so we were really strategic in picking people who we thought would be really good, like ambassadors and advisors to us. And it's paid off.
How different is your life than you expected it?
Oh my gosh. I think my husband's life is more different. I did not expect this. I
mean, it's got to be a shock to the system a little bit, because again, we're talking about a short period of time, and you said that you loved comfort, you loved routine, and now it's totally different. I mean, could you ever imagine that you would be in this kind of position, being a CEO of a company that's in 64 different countries and is expanding dramatically?
A technology company at that, in a technology world that we're living in now. I mean,
sometimes I do need to like stop and pause and remind myself how far we've come, because it feels like a lifetime.
It's amazing.
And B, as a founder, or really any type of business owner,
right,
you get lost in the day to day.
Right? Oh, 100%.
And you also get pulled into the negative way more than you get pulled into the positive. So sometimes it just feels like this like swirl of like, oh my God, everything is falling apart. And then you're like, wait, no, it's not. Right. Look at what we've built. So a lot of times I do need to kind of like pause and remind myself of that. But I did not imagine myself here. Absolutely not. I've always been like career driven and a hard worker, but when you start your own business, 24/7, and it's been that way now for 4 years. So it's a very specific lifestyle.
I was about to say it has to be a very specific lifestyle, because I know both of us are small business owners, and it's 7 days a week. I mean,
and you have to be very driven.
Yeah,
you can't be a person that's like,
can't sit on your ass doing nothing.
Social media all day and just shooting the breeze.
It's funny, every week as the week goes on, I'm like, okay, like this is going to be the weekend that I can take time off, because right. And then by Friday afternoon, I'm like, I have hours of work to do, and so, and I don't brag about that. Like, I don't like working that much, right? Like, I think everybody deserves to have personal time and to recharge. And I think that's super important, but sometimes it's just a function of like, we're growing so fast and there's such high expectations of what our customers want. And you don't want to let them down as the owner.
Wow. And you're expecting a new one. And so that's going to dramatically change your life. Wow. I mean, I just, for people that are out there that are just getting into, thinking about, have an idea that is picking at their brain. I mean, it just sounded like you took on a yes perspective, Like you weren't going to say no, you're going to say yes to stuff and see where it led, even if it was uncomfortable.
I also think, you just brought up, I'm expecting our first child. At the time when I was doing this as a woman, you kind of have to think about your timeline, right? And I said, like, if not now, when?
Right.
I said, like, now's my time. Like, I don't have a family. It's the least risky time of my life to do this. And I have the time to do it. So let's try it out, and now I need to figure out how to do both, but at least we've gotten here.
Well, I did this. So in the 30s, I mean, when I was in my 30s, I decided to change my life. I moved from one state to another, didn't know anybody, anything, started over, was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, when am I going to do it? Yeah. I got to do it at some point when I'm at least young enough to be able to rebuild everything. And now that I'm in my 50s, I'm thinking, well, I could do that again.
Perspective is everything.
It's
right?
so funny you said that.
Yeah. When you're in it, you're kind of like, this is the time, now or never, like I said. But I'm sure I'll have another time in my life that I feel that way too. So I think back to like taking the SATs felt like the most important thing and like what college matter, right? But in the moment, that's what you think is going to be like your life-changing trajectory.
Yes.
Move.
Oh my goodness, Randi, you have been a doll. I mean, I am so blown away by what you've built, what you've created, a tool that we all can use that is so simple and so easy, and a price point that almost everybody can afford.
Great price point.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're like donating your time.
Sometimes I feel that way.
I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, because it is really, really incredible. I mean, this is a tool that people that are just getting into the market can use to make themselves look next level professional. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, there's going to be people that are just starting planning that are going to be able to use this tool in ways that people that have been in the industry for years and years and years won't adapt to. I think there's nowhere else to go but up. Yeah, it's incredible. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being on the show. It really was.
Congratulations again.
Yeah, congratulations on everything. I mean, everything. I mean, oh my God, it's incredible. So if you're out there, if you're listening to our show and you haven't been able to see the ticker tape that's been running below us, but you can check out Merri at Instagram at Merri, which is MERRI. So Instagram at Merri, MERRI, or the website, which is www.bemerri.com. There's a little story behind that, but you'll find it. We can talk about that next time. But again. Yeah, next episode. But again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you. All right, everybody. So we'll be back next Tuesday at 2:00. But for now, we're all going to say goodbye.
Bye,
guys.